Hello, my name is Seth McDowell, and I will be teaching an advanced design studio this fall called The Whole Truth and Nothing But The Courthouse and New Directions for Materializing Justice. People's lives are dramatically altered by their work conducted within court buildings. And in the last 50 years, the civic space for adjudication has exploded from a courthouse anchoring a community center to a sprawling judicial complex often pushed to the city's peripheral. State and federal design guidelines encouraging neoclassical iconography of law and order, as well as strict security protocols and bloated administrative needs, have rendered the U.S. courthouse an architecture of anguish. These modernized court complexes often present a corporate sterility rivaling hospitals or office parks. In a moment when truth and justice dominate public discourse, the architecture of the courthouse needs to find ways to become less intimidating, more humanistic, and more accessible. The U.S. courthouse is an iconic, complex, and contested institution of adjudication that organizes a space for individuals to interact with the governing authority, spatializing the Sixth Amendment and the rights possessed by those accused of crimes. It is also a structure clouded by painful experiences, especially for the marginalized, who often see going to court as entering the door of despair. For many people around the world, courthouses symbolize the power of law to enforce oppressions of colonialism and of racial and gender hierarchies. Security concerns and spatial segregation between public spaces and controlled spaces have turned courthouses into glorified bunkers. In this studio, the goal is to rethink the civic typology and propose new spatial models for architecture that enable a better democratic experience and access to justice for all members of the body politic. The goal of this studio is to reconfigure the judicial space and its interface with the city so that the future vitality of courthouses, with their public adjudication and their recent efforts at egalitarian practices, is assured. Our courts may be monumental in ambition and often in physical girth. Their durability as active sites of public exchange before independent jurists should not be taken for granted. In this studio, we will investigate architectural techniques for transparency, movement, structural ordering and layering, vertical connectivity, passage, porosity, daylighting from above, daylighting from below, entrance, theatrics and positioning, material honesty and integrity, as methods for materializing truth and justice in our constructed environments. Many of Virginia's more populated cities and counties have replaced their aging courthouses with huge, uninspiring court complexes. Many of the Commonwealth's rural jurisdictions still occupy aging facilities that are overcrowded and lacking in the essential features of a modern, efficient court building. We will look at one of these conditions, 40 miles west of Campbell Hall in the city of Stanton, Virginia. Known as the Shenandoah Valley's Queen City, Stanton is a small city of approximately 25,000 that is physically characterized by steep topography and an eclectic architectural heritage. Since 1901, Stanton has served as the home of the Augusta County Courthouse. However, for over a decade, the facilities have been inadequate and in violation of Virginia state law. This has led to many feasibility studies, schematic designs, and disputes between the county, the city, the Historic Preservation Commission, and the general public about how to build a new courthouse in a historic city. Unfortunately, in the last year, voters and officials have made the decision to push both the county courthouse and the juvenile domestic relations district courthouse out of the city's historic center in an effort to lower cost, minimize disruption, and enable unbracketed growth for the courthouse. The premise of this studio is to challenge this decision, as it further removes the courthouse from the people and exacerbates problems of access to government. We will aim to demonstrate that there is still a place in the city for democracy and justice. Students will choose to develop a project on one of the three site options within Stanton's historic downtown district, all adjacent to the original courthouse. We will design a new Augusta County courthouse for the city of Stanton. And the project will involve both the design of a new courthouse and the renovation and adaptive reuse of the original 1901 courthouse. The project will run in parallel with two real projects that will provide an alternative to this bureaucratic, formulaic design direction currently unfolding in Stanton. We will use the spatial program outlined by 2020 Space Needs Assessment, which calls for a new court building that provides 126,000 square feet of space. However, each designer should question the scale and find ways to align spatial needs to the scale of the city. The studio will encourage a collaborative atmosphere of multidiscipline undergrad grad teams of 2 to 3 students each. The semester will be organized around the following activities. First, we will start by studying the typical approaches to courthouse design and the guidelines that inform building within historic districts. In this analysis, students will develop a critique and a thesis for a new direction for courthouses. Part two involves proposing new models, a phase of idea generation, characterized by loose physical models and hand or digital sketches. We will explore two spatial scales simultaneously, the room scale, which will focus on light and materiality, proportion and arrangement, and the city block scale, which will focus on mass, site positioning, orientation, and contextualizing. The third part involves design development that will require students to use Autodesk Revit to construct a virtual building and landscape. Prior knowledge with Revit is not required as software support will be provided. Any new federal or state building is now required to be delivered using a BIM platform. And in this phase, projects will focus on building envelopes, structure, and circulation. Final projects should be highly resolved proposals for novel architecture, landscape, and public space. The estimated out-of-pocket cost for the students in the studio is $260, which includes printing, plotting, material purchases, and travel. The studio will take a day trip to Stanton, Virginia within the first month of the semester, and an exhibition of final work is being planned for the spring or summer of 2024 in Stanton. Thank you for your attention, and feel free to reach out to me with any questions that you might have. I look forward to seeing everyone this fall.